In late August 1942, Schwer Panzerabteilung 502 deployed the Tiger I tank to defensive positions south of Leningrad, introducing 100mm rolled homogeneous steel frontal armor to the Eastern Front. The 57-ton vehicle mounted the 88mm KWK-36 gun with a muzzle velocity of 773 meters per second, creating an immediate technical imbalance against Soviet armor doctrine. Soviet T-34 tanks equipped with the 76mm F-34 gun could penetrate only 70 to 82 millimeters of armor at 500 meters depending on ammunition type, leaving a critical margin where German frontal armor remained invulnerable to standard Soviet anti-tank weapons. This armor differential manifested in early 1943, when multiple Tigers survived dozens of hits from 76mm guns across Eastern Front engagements without penetration. At Rostov in February 1943, a single Tiger I from Schwer Panzerabteilung 503 absorbed over 200 total hits, including strikes from 76mm guns, and still drove back to maintenance positions under its own power, demonstrating that the Maybach HL-23 0P45 engine's 700 horsepower remained functional despite sustained fire. Per German after-action reports, engagement after engagement confirmed Soviet calculations. Existing main battle tank armament could not defeat German heavy armor at tactically relevant ranges. If you're interested in how wars are actually decided by logistics, math, weapons, and doctrine, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for more in-depth World War II analysis. Let's continue. In January 1943, Soviet forces captured an intact Tiger I near Leningrad and transported it to the Kubinka proving ground for comprehensive evaluation. Engineers measured every dimension of the German design, quantifying the technical gap Soviet armor production needed to close. The findings were shared with the Chelyabinsk Kirov plant, accelerating parallel development programs already underway. The KV-85 prototype mounted an 85mm D5T gun in a modified KV-1S turret with 75mm sloped frontal armor by spring 1943. But this represented an intermediate solution. The Su-152 assault gun entered production at CHKZ by mid-1943, fielding a 152mm ML-20S howitzer capable of destroying German armor through high-explosive concussion rather than penetration. Approximately 670 units reached frontline service before production priorities shifted. At Kursk in July 1943, the Su-152 earned the nickname Zveroboy, Beast Slayer, when its massive 152mm rounds destroyed Tigers and Panthers through sheer concussive force, detaching armor plates and wrecking internal systems without conventional penetration. The success of heavy-caliber high-explosive firepower against German armor provided the conceptual framework for a mobile heavy tank mounting a similar weapon. In September 1943, the IS-122 prototype fired its first rounds at the CHKZ test range, mounting the A-19 gun on a common cradle designed to accept either 85mm or 122mm weapons within a 1,800mm turret ring. The V2 diesel V12 engine generated 600 brake horsepower while maintaining ground pressure at 0.81 kilograms per square centimeter. November tests of the D25T 122mm gun variant recorded muzzle velocities between 780 and 790 meters per second, with 140mm penetration capability at 500 meters, finally exceeding Tiger I frontal protection by a 40mm margin. Khotin's bureau confronted immediate options by spring 1943. Battlefield reports from Kursk presented a clear case. High explosive firepower from heavy-caliber weapons had proven devastating against German armor, even without achieving clean penetrations. The decision to mount the core gun in a turret required accepting brutal trade-offs. The two-piece ammunition, projectile and separate propellant charge, reduced firing rate to 1.5 to 3 rounds per minute against the Tiger I's 6 to 8 rounds. The 1,800mm turret ring diameter restricted ammunition stowage to 28 rounds, compared to the Tiger I's 92-round capacity. October 1943. Mobility tests validated performance. December 1943. Production of the IS-2 model. 1943 began with a 4-man crew configuration. Chelyabinsk required 50,000 to 55,000 man-hours per unit, 1/6 the Tiger I's 300,000-hour production demand. The factory completed 102 to 107 units by February 1944, establishing a production tempo the Tiger I program could never match despite superior rate of fire and ammunition capacity. April 1944 brought the IS-2's baptism by fire to western Ukraine's muddy battlefields. The 1st Independent Guards, heavy tank regiments, each fielding 21 IS-2s, deployed into the chaos of the Kamenets-Podolsky pocket, where 3 German corps faced encirclement. Near the village of Obertin, Soviet heavy tankers confronted the Wehrmacht's most feared armor, the Tiger I, protected by 100mm of frontal plate and mounting the legendary 88mm gun. The engagement shocked German crews who had grown accustomed to frontal immunity. IS-2 crews positioned their 46-ton machines in hull-down stances, exposing only the turret, while the D-25T gun's massive 122mm barrel tracked targets across open ground. At ranges exceeding 900 meters, distances where Tiger commanders expected immunity from Soviet fire, the 25-kilogram armor-piercing rounds smashed through frontal armor. Wehrmacht after-action reports documented the previously unthinkable. Complete penetrations at 1,000 meters, Tiger crews abandoning vehicles as steel plates buckled inward. The D-25T's ability to defeat 120mm of armor at maximum range gave Soviet tank forces their first genuine counter to Germany's heavy panzers. Victory arrived with brutal lessons. Between shots, IS-2 commanders faced a stark choice: expose their tank to counterfire or retreat. Soviet doctrine adapted immediately. T-34 medium tanks formed protective screens 500 meters forward, absorbing enemy attention while the heavies reloaded. The IS-2 became a mobile artillery piece, firing deliberate shots from protected positions rather than engaging in sustained gunnery duels. The Model 1943 turret extracted a deadlier price. The rounded turret front's junction with the hull created a shot trap, incoming rounds deflecting downward into the thin 100mm lower glacis, angled at 30 degrees. Shells that should have ricocheted instead channeled through the driver's compartment, killing crews who believed themselves protected behind thick armor. Field reports cataloged the casualties throughout spring 1944, driving urgent modifications at the CHKZ production facility in Chelyabinsk. By summer 1944, the Model 1944 fast turret emerged from the factory floors, a flattened front profile that eliminated the geometric flaw. The modification arrived alongside growing production numbers. CHKZ's lines would deliver 2,252 IS-2s by year's end. The tank that penetrated Tigers at Obertin now possessed armor that matched its gun's lethality, transforming the IS-2 from a promising prototype into the Red Army's armored spearhead for the drive westward. Between January and December 1944, the Chelyabinsk-Kirov plant delivered 2,252 IS-2 heavy tanks to Soviet armored units, while Henschel's Tiger, one assembly line at Kassel, produced its final example in August of that year, terminating at 1,347 total units across the vehicle's entire production run. The Tiger II, introduced to replace the discontinued design, added only 489 examples before war's end, most succumbing to mechanical failures before reaching combat zones. By autumn 1944, independent guards, heavy tank regiments fielded 21 IS-2s each, creating local superiority of 3 to 4 Soviet heavies for every German counterpart still operational. a ratio amplified by dozens of accompanying T-34/85 medium tanks pressing forward in combined formations. The 69-ton Tiger II, designated Panzerkampfwagen Tiger Ausf. B, suffered catastrophic transmission failures under its excessive weight, stranding vehicles kilometers from the front lines without enemy contact. The Maybach HL 230 engine, designed for the 45-ton Panther, collapsed under loads exceeding specifications by 24 tons. Jagd Panther tank destroyers mounting 88mm PaK 43 guns provided long-range firepower reaching 2,000 meters penetration capability. But the absence of rotating turrets prevented defensive operations against Soviet flanking maneuvers. Nashorn self-propelled guns, carrying identical 88mm armament on open-topped Panzer IV chassis, withdrew after absorbing counter-battery fire from 122mm HE shells containing 3.6 kilograms of TNT per round. Germany's fuel allocation crisis forced the abandonment of mechanically functional Tigers across Eastern Front positions during the summer 1944 retreats, crews spiking guns and detonating ammunition stores before withdrawal. The Wehrmacht's daily fuel consumption requirements exceeded 10,000 tons, while actual deliveries dropped below 3,000 tons, following Allied bombing campaigns against synthetic oil plants at Ploesti and Luna. The Soviet Heavy, powered by V2IS diesel engines producing 520 horsepower, operated on fuel supplies drawn from Baku refineries delivering 22 million tons annually, reserves extending logistical reach across 240-kilometer operational depths without supply interruption. By May 1945, an additional 1,500 IS-2s reached frontline units, bringing total production to 3,854 vehicles confronting a German heavy tank force reduced to double-digit operational readiness. The 122mm platform's 46-ton combat weight enabled road speeds of 37 kilometers per hour while maintaining 120mm frontal armor protection. Use specifications. German designs could not match without mobility penalties, rendering vehicles strategically immobile. The arithmetic of industrial capacity had converted tactical exchanges into mathematical inevitability, each percentage point of production advantage compounding into divisional-scale numerical dominance across 1,000-kilometer fronts. The sound of 122mm. April 16, 1945. Silo Heights. Soviet IS-2 regiments rolled forward against the Oder-Neisse line, their 122mm D-25T guns loaded with OF-471 high-explosive rounds, each packed with 3.6 kilograms of TNT filler. The Wehrmacht had constructed 3 defensive belts across the ridgeline, trenches and bunkers engineered to withstand T-34 fire. The lighter 85mm guns lacked the explosive mass to collapse, reinforced concrete pillboxes, or the IS-2S advanced to within 800 meters, traversed their turrets, and fired. Each 122mm HE round struck German fortifications at 800 meters per second muzzle velocity. Bunker roofs collapsed. Trench systems disintegrated under blast overpressure that killed defenders without penetrating their protection. By April 17th, an IS-2 crew spotted an immobilized Tiger II. Transmission failure or fuel starvation, the result identical. The commander ordered an APH-EBC round loaded. At 800 meters, the armor-piercing shell, capable of penetrating 178 millimeters at 1,000 meters, punched through the Tiger II's 80mm side armor. The German crew abandoned the vehicle. April 19th marked the breakthrough. IS-2 regiments ground forward cross-country at 12 miles per hour, transverse torsion bar suspension absorbing the cratered terrain. After 10 kilometers, a transmission strain became evident in several vehicles. The price of pushing 46 tons through fortified zones. Replacements arrived within hours. Soviet logistics had solved what German industry could not. Late April. Berlin's outskirts. The IS-2's role transformed from breakthrough tank to mobile siege artillery. Crews advanced to 200 meters from Wehrmacht barricades, German Panzerfaust teams concealed in multi-story buildings. One IS-2 fired a single 122mm HE round into a residential structure's third floor. The entire level collapsed, burying the Panzerfaust operators in rubble and masonry. The tactic extracted its cost. From upper floor positions, German infantry launched Panzerfausts capable of penetrating 200 millimeters of armor. The IS-2's turret sides measured only 90 millimeters thick. Multiple tanks suffered penetrations, crews evacuating through hatches as ammunition cooked off. New IS-2s arrived the following morning. May 1945. A Soviet crew maneuvered through a rubble-choked street, passing within 50 meters of an abandoned Tiger I. The German heavy tank sat immobile, its fuel tanks empty. The Wehrmacht's logistics network had disintegrated. The IS-2, powered by a V2IS diesel engine with 240 kilometers of road range, continued grinding forward. Inside the cramped turret, loaders wrestled two-piece 122mm ammunition, achieving 2 rounds per minute from the vehicle's 28-round stowage. Sustained HE barrages turned residential blocks into moonscapes. May 2nd, 1945. IS-2 regiments ceased fire across Berlin. Gun barrels cooled. The 12.7mm DSHK machine guns, loaded with the last of their 2,331 rounds of ammunition, fell silent. German engineers would later measure the IS-2's cast hull front armor at 120 millimeters, sloped for maximum effectiveness. 3,854 IS-2s had been produced at Chelyabinsk and other facilities. Sufficient numbers to replace every loss, to outlast every defender, to reduce every structure street by street until the city surrendered. The margin that once rendered German armor invulnerable had been closed, then reversed. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe for more World War II historical deep dives every week. Thanks for watching.